Another name that has been talked about relative to the Browns quarterback position is Kirk Cousins, and he is in the news. Falcons are benching him. They're going with the rookie Michael Penix Jr. Keep in mind, Falcons are still mathematically alive and in the playoff hunt. Cousins has not been good. Penix takes over. Last 5 games, or Cousins rather, 1 touchdown, 9 picks, a 1-4 record. The other thing that some of the metrics shows you, 98% of his passes are in the pocket. They're trying to call the game around him. He is coming off an Achilles injury. So I suppose if he's healthy, he's still an option, but buyer beware. One touchdown and 9 picks sounds a lot like what we've seen pretty much all season from this offense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where 4 years ago when you made the Deshaun decision that Kirk's opportunity, like that was the time you were trying to make that move for that player. So yeah, at this point, I kind of view this similarly to Russell Wilson's situation last year, where he is making such a cap hit that the play doesn't meet the threshold. And Kirk is worse this year than Russell Wilson was last year, but they're similarly aged. They're deteriorating skill sets. Russ survived more and is still trying to survive on athleticism and throwing the football outside the numbers, right? There's parts of Russell Wilson's game that are glaringly an issue, and when the Steelers really need it, you can see what happens there. But when you have a lack of consistency at the position in terms of presence and ability, and this comes down to who's here calling plays, doing things, because there's no doubt in any of this that Kevin had a nice run there with Kirk in Minnesota. They worked well together, but Kirk worked well with other coordinators too. And the thing that this comes down to for me is Kevin calling plays, and where is Kirk? Not so much on the lower body because he's always lived from the pocket. I think that stuff is, when you sign up for Kirk Cousins, that's really inevitable. Do you like to do some wide zone bootleg stuff here and there? Yeah, but I think that part of the NFL is just being bottled up in a way it didn't used to be bottled up when Kevin and Kirk were together in Minnesota, when it kind of was on its run there. And so my point is, the only world you're entertaining Kirk as an option is we're trying to bridge for a season or whatever, and we don't think Watson's going to play this year. And I don't think he's going to play in either way. But you're at the point where you're like, hey, we need a quarterback. We're making a decision between Jameis and we're going to maybe draft a guy or maybe whatever route that is. And like you're signing him to a league minimum contract after he's cut, and that money is offset from his Falcons contract. So basically, like what the Steelers did is they got Russell Wilson for the league minimum, and Russ doesn't care about that because Russ is making there's a silly amount of money from that Denver contract where they released him. So there's a world there. So people have floated trading for him. Absolutely not at that figure in his age and the concerns you have. The Falcons missed the opportunity there for sure. But I would say if the world in which it's similar to Russell Wilson, where he's let go, he's out there, maybe Kevin has, whatever's happened with the offense evolution, they're going back to Kevin calling plays. Those two want to get together again for a year until they kind of maybe feel great about a quarterback, or even if they draft one that they really end up liking in this draft, they want to have Kirk there as a starter, and then we'll do the same thing what they essentially have done with Penix, is where it's Kirk's going to play. If he's ineffective, if he becomes ineffective, then we have a chance to maybe usher in a new era. I don't, there's a lot to determine there, but it's a minimum deal thing for me. And Kirk's draw to Cleveland would be that he's got a relationship with Kevin, and that's it. In all reality, when I saw this, what I thought is Sam Darnold's quite clearly going to sign for a ridiculous amount of money somewhere because he's going to capitalize on the season he's having. Minnesota has J.J. McCarthy, who is coming back from his own injuries, but he's the future at quarterback for them. Kirk going back to Minnesota makes a ton of sense on that same sort of league minimum situation to hold it down and kind of give JJ a chance to come back. But that's it. That's what Cleveland would be competing with, is like, oh, he liked Kevin too, and there's maybe a draw to Kevin because the Browns could offer him a chance to play early. Same sort of boat. But you cannot trade for him. Like, he has a no trade clause, first of all, so he would have to approve it, and then you're also taking on that contract, and the Browns, every penny for the Browns is important. So if you're telling me Russell Wilson was cut and ultimately gets this league minimum deal with offset language, so that he's, making minimum. Like if you can get Kirk Cousins on the minimum, I'm fine with that. I'm not paying him big money. That's just that would be it would be up there with a similar decision to playing Watson again. If you're taking on Kirk Cousins at $27 million next year, it'd be asinine to me.